Morning, Lynn. Hope you're all right. Thank you for being here, Lynn. Oh, morning. Gosh. Morning, everyone. Lovely to see you. Thank you for joining me. Oh, morning, Elaine. Lovely to see you. You made it. That's so cool. Oh, gosh. How are you all doing? How are you all doing this Friday? Can't believe it's Friday. Oh, morning. Oh, put this on. Kikoma 45, morning. Nice to have you here. Welcome. Yeah, I'm doing all right today, thank you, Lynn. I think I'm all right. I can't believe it's Friday, to be honest with you. It's come really quickly. But morning, Zimuno. Oh, I can't say your name. Zimuno Kumbongo. Oh, morning, Amber. I have to put my glasses on because I can't see. I try really hard to not have my glasses because I know the light shines, but I have to have my glasses on because I just can't see otherwise. It's been a really super fast week, hasn't it, Lynn? I don't know why. Oh, Grace, fellow Questie. Hello, welcome. It's so nice to have you here. So for those of you who don't know, a Questie, so I trained at the Quest Institute and Grace did too. And we call each other Questies, so because that's where we trained. That's where we trained to become cognitive hypnotherapists. So it's lovely to have you. Oh, nearly poked my eye out then. It's lovely to have you here. Very nice. Kezia, so nice to see you. Welcome. How's everyone doing? Where are you joining us from? It'd be really nice to know. Oh, Grace was Q26. I was Q37, so I trained after you. So every year the Quest Institute does a training course, and it's called a Q whatever number. So I was Q37. We've just done Q43. We're just about to start Q44. So it's a great training school, and it's a really good community. So morning. So so as Lynn says, this is a really safe space. We've created this community, and what we do today is we're going to have an hour. We can talk about mental well-being, mental health, talk about anxiety. If you've got any questions, then do please feel free to ask. But this is a really safe space, and I have moderators here. So we have Lynn 250, I have Jasmine Lake, I have Vicky Hodson, Vicky Handlebars, Zanshin, who are all here to keep this a safe space. And there's absolutely no tolerance. If anyone's not kind, if anyone is rude or offensive in any way, you're gone. There's no discussion, no talking about it. We all know what kindness looks like, so please be kind. And I know vast majority of people are kind, so you're really welcome to be here. I'm a therapist. I've been in practice for about 7 years now. I'm also the training manager at the Quest Institute, so I help train new students, and my speciality is working with people with anxiety. I'm not I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a doctor, so I won't give any sort of advice on things that are beyond my realm of training, and I know where that is, so I don't pretend to be anything that I'm not. Anyway, you're really welcome to be here. Hope you enjoy this morning. If you have questions, do ask away, and I'll try and cover as many things as I possibly can. If I don't get to your question, then feel free to email me. My email is on my all in my contact details. There's a link in my bio. So, I always get back to people. Takes me time sometimes, but I always reply to everyone and do my best. But I'm not perfect. So anyway, let me stop waffling, and let's have a little look. Morning, Nadine. It's so lovely to see you. I'm very well, thank you. I'm good. I hope you're doing well as well. It's good to have you here. So let's have a little look. Mimi, bienvenue. Welcome from Brittany. It's so nice to have you here. And Emma, you shared my live. Thank you. Joanne writes, this is lovely. Welcome. Nice to have you here. So let's get on. Let me answer some questions. So not a few words mentioned. I've been diagnosed with generalised anxiety disorder. I suffer with really bad anxiety Any advice? Well, gosh, I'm sorry that you're suffering from that. It's difficult, isn't it? Anxiety is one of those things that I think is more prevalent than perhaps people realise, because when we're anxious, we sort of try not to. I don't know. We keep it secret for some reason. People don't like to share that they're an anxious person, and really, what I want you to know is that it doesn't define you. You know, you are who you are. You are a good, kind person. You're the person that all your friends and family love, and the anxiety is a protective behaviour. So it doesn't define who you are, and the fact that you've gone and got help for it is a really great thing. And the diagnosis can be helpful because it can help you know what to do next. So on my page, there's all sorts of things. There's the categories at the bottom of my profile page talking about information about what anxiety is, how it affects us, about the physical things that you will be feeling if you're going through anxiety. And also there are lots and lots of helpful videos, well, I hope they're helpful, which give you all sorts of physical ways of helping yourself. And also working with a therapist can be really helpful. So what happens when we're anxious is that we're triggered by our unconscious mind, our vagus nerve, our nervous system is constantly scanning our environment, looking for potential threat. And sometimes there's real threat that's actually there. And so our anxiety is a fantastic thing because it's a warning system that helps us to get to a safe space. So we all get anxious, but when we're anxious all the time, when we have chronic anxiety, that can be more problematic, because we know that, if we're anxious about a driving test and we have our driving test and it's over, hopefully we pass and we come out the other side, the anxiety goes, so that's great. But what happens if you're being triggered into anxiety all the time by everyday stuff, which is what happens when you have generalised anxiety? So what's happening is that your nervous system is scanning, and it's either seeing things which are genuinely of a threat in your everyday, or perhaps it's matching to an event in the past that you went through. So we call it a significant emotional event, and it can be anything. It can be all sorts of things, and we're all so different. So it's a very individual thing, and there's no judgment about what that thing can be, because when you're little, so you can have something that as an adult you can look at and think, oh, but how can that be the thing that triggered me when I was 3 or 4? But when you're 3 or 4, you don't understand the world, and the world can be a scary place, but that fear stays with you. And so in that moment, your brain takes a snapshot of everything that was connected to and unconnected to that moment, and it's forever looking for it. And so if you make a match in your present day, then what happens is that you're triggered into fight or flight again. And fight or flight gives you the release of adrenaline and cortisol. It makes your heart beat faster, your muscles behave differently, your breathing changes. Everything about us changes because the whole focus is on survival. And that can feel really horrible. And the videos that I share, the work that I do, is all about initially creating an environment of safety, learning about what anxiety is, and having coping techniques which are very practical, looking at self-care in our lives so that we get the release of the hormones that make us feel safe, make our nervous system understand that it's safe. And then perhaps if you go and see a therapist, perhaps if that's not quite enough for you, which for lots of people it's not, then if you go and see a therapist, what you can do is dig a bit deeper and find out, where has this come from, what was going on, and reframe that. So anyway, so I hope that helps a little bit, because a lot of the techniques that I share can be really helpful. The techniques, so there's lots of pin techniques like this. I always talk about this pin technique. There's breath techniques, there's visualization techniques, all sorts of techniques. So have a little delve in your own time, and hopefully that's helpful for you. So thank you for asking the question. Let's have a little look at some more. So it's Anne-Marie says, what's the difference between yourself and a psychologist? Well, a psychologist will have done a degree in psychology. I've done a degree, but my degree was in English literature. So it was something that I loved. And I trained as a therapist in later life. And I trained for just under a year to be a cognitive hypnotherapist. And then I did a further 8-9 months to become a master practitioner. And then every year I do more training. But it's a different level. A psychologist is someone who has a deeper level of training, and they'll be able to deal to help with clients who perhaps have mental health issues such as things like psychosis, bipolar disorder, personality disorder, schizophrenia, things like that. Those things are beyond my training. I've done a really good, solid training, but I know where my limits are. So that's the difference. It's a higher level of training to be a psychologist. Okay, I hope that explains. Natu, I love your name. I quit my job today due to mental health and instantly felt lighter, anxious when work call me now. So, I'm really sorry that you feel so bad with your mental health, that you're feeling so unwell, that, it's come to the stage where that you've had to quit your job. But congratulations for having the courage to do that, because actually, I've had clients where this has happened, where we look and all of their life is actually okay. It's the toxic environment of work that is triggering them every day, again and again and again. And actually, although you can work really hard and try and do everything you possibly can to help yourself and to talk to work and say, I need support and try and get things done, there comes a stage where you just think, this is not healthy for me. And it is absolutely the right thing to do, to remove yourself from that toxic environment. So I can understand that, when work calls you, you get triggered because that your nervous system is going, danger, danger. This is work. This is where these people are. This is where this environment is. That is not safe for me. So as time goes on and you're further and further removed from that work environment, and you find a new job, a different thing that you can do, and a different team of people who can support you in the way that your old job should have supported you, then that sense of anxiety will diminish and diminish. So, but well done, and I hope you're okay. Be kind to yourself, look after yourself, because you can see immediately that sense of lightness, and that is your nervous system understanding, phew, we're away from that, and it will settle, it will sort itself out, and I hope that you're okay. So take care. So another really good one here. What's the best way to deal with children's anxiety, from Genology UK? So I think that depends on the child, depends on the age of the child. Children need lots of reassurance, lots of love. Don't make them think that there's anything wrong with them. Acknowledge what's happening for them. Because a lot of the time we mean really well, don't we? We say, it's fine, don't worry about it, you'll be fine. There's nothing to worry about, don't be silly, don't cry. That. Actually, it's more helpful to say, yes, it's horrible when you feel like that, isn't it? Tell me how you're feeling. Have you got, it depends on the age, but, are there thoughts in your head? What is it that you're worried about? Do you feel funny in your body? If you could point to your body, where would that be, that feeling? And a lot of the videos that I share, the physical stuff that we do, can be really helpful with children. The visualization. There's a spinning video that I've shared. That will be in the I think it's in the techniques category. That you can do it together. This one is lovely for children. So just I won't explain it now because I don't want to spend sort of too long on each question. I want to get to as many as possible. If you have a look at my pinned videos, that can absolutely help. So letting them know that it's okay. And I think a lot of the time we hide from our children how we feel. And it's okay. It's okay to feel things, Feelings are there as signals to us that stuff is not right. So to be able to say to your child, do you know what? How amazing is your is your brain. How amazing is your body that it's sending you the signal that things are not quite right. So what can we do about that? How can we help your nervous system feel okay again? Let's talk together. Let's it's almost like you're saying, well, this is a nervous system, so let's speak kindly to it, to be able to say, how are you doing? It feels horrible, doesn't it? It's your heart beating. Oh, how does that feel? That kind of thing. So I hope that helps. So I hope that helps. Let's have a look. So what does that say? More Munson. Is it possible to get rid of social anxiety? Oh, thank you so much for the little roses. That's so kind of you. Thank you. I love it. I see the hearts coming up when people do likes, and if people send little gifts and things like that. It's so kind of you. Yeah, I know I really appreciate it. So thank you very much. So is it possible to get rid of social anxiety? Yes, it is, because life is long, isn't it? We have a lot of life to live, hopefully, if we're fortunate. And social anxiety happens for a reason. All anxiety happens for a reason. It doesn't just spring upon us for no reason at all. It's there for a reason. And so social anxiety will be there because of an event that's happened to you, or maybe a series of events, or maybe you're an introvert like I am, and the thought of going to a party fills you with horror. Some of you will have seen my post the other week where I was going to my friend's party, and I just didn't want to go. I felt really tired, and sometimes the symptoms that you feel is your nervous system triggering you into behaviour because it's just not your cup of tea. So if you have that, if your parents are extroverts and you're an introvert, and they're like, come on, come to this party and be with all these people, it's great, because they get their energy from being with lots of people, then you, as an introvert, you learn that, oh no, this is awful, being with all these people is a terrible, dangerous, awful thing. And so you can sort of reframe that and learn, it's okay, I don't have to like big social events. Maybe I'm more of a one-to-one person, like I'm like that. I'm much more of a one-to-one, let's go and meet and have a coffee somewhere quiet, or that kind of person. Excuse me. So there's that kind of thing, looking at, okay, what sort of person am I? And is this just my natural way that I don't really like those big occasions? But also you can help yourself, because there's things that we have to do, don't we? We have to go to work, we have to meet with people, and maybe have family events and so on. So look for the pattern of where you're anxious, and then if there are places that you need to go, then perhaps use the coping techniques, the stuff like breath techniques, physical techniques, that can help your system just calm. So I hope that helps a little bit. And don't despair. You're not alone. Lots of people have social anxiety, and you don't have to feel it forever. And I know when I was much younger, I was really shy, and I just couldn't speak to people at all. And so if you said to me then, when I was like 18, that you're going to be speaking in front of a classroom full of people, or doing a TikTok live in front of hundreds of people, I just said, oh no, I can't do that. But actually I feel comfortable in myself. So a lot of it is about feeling grounded in yourself and building up your own sense of self-esteem and your own peace and comfort in who you are. Because if you're happy with that, it doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks, does it? So a lot of social anxieties can be about judgment. And if you know you're all right, if you're enough as a person, then it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. So that's the place we're all heading for, isn't it? We're trying to get to. So I hope that helps a little bit. It's a really good question. So Lynn, I've just seen, I didn't see the question, Juvine 100, but I imagine that it may have been about medication or something that I don't deal with. So I'm not a doctor, I'm not medically trained, and I don't pretend to be. I have a limited area of expertise, but so if there's an issue, if Lynn is saying that perhaps your issue is something that needs to be spoken about with a doctor, then I would go you know, I know it's hard, but try and see your doctor. And if your doctor's not been helpful, then see if you can book in with a different doctor, because those are the things that people with more training can help you with. So I'm sorry I can't help you with that. So, okay, let's have a look. So Lauren R. Brun says, how do I stop overthinking and panicking when I'm not well? I'm a hypochondriac and have anxiety. Gosh. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. It's, you know, having health anxiety, which is, I'd imagine that's what you're experiencing, is a really difficult thing, because you feel the symptoms of anxiety and you're in that closed loop going round and around of feeling anxious, and the anxiety causes physical sensations, and then your thinking brain makes sense of that, decides that, well, this obviously means this, or this means that. And it's a slow process, I would say, in my experience, and not with everyone. Some people can get this sorted quite quickly, but it is a case of a sort of long term, getting to a stage where you're lowering those stress hormones, and you're connecting so that you're not focusing all the time on oh, what's that? What did I feel there? What does that mean? So you're much more diverting your mind into other activities, you know? So that if you're genuinely ill, so if you get the flu or if you get a cold, you know, it's that, it's the thing. So there's a really great positive psychologist called Maria Sirois, and she has a fantastic video of not a TED talk, but a talk that she did. And it was called Happiness in Dark Times. You can Google it and watch it if you want to. And she talks about us all having a swamp and a pond. So we all have a swamp, and the swamp is the place where all the awful stuff from our day goes. And so if you're suffering from health anxiety, that's where all your symptoms will go and the illness will go. And also, at the same time, we have a pond, and that's where all the good stuff goes. That understanding of, okay, this is a protective behaviour. My nervous system's working really well for me. So that's where the good stuff is. And we can choose to honour the difficult stuff and at the same time give our focus to the good. And if we can do that more and more, do the physical techniques that I talk about, maybe go and see a therapist and work on, where did this come from? Where's the trigger point for this? Then actually that can be really helpful. So I hope that helps a little bit. Let's have a look. Oh dear, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, blimey, that's really clever. That's I've accidentally done something, and it's come up with the comments are bigger, but anyway, I don't really like that. Okay, let's have a look. Yeah, so Enova, I know my health anxiety comes from not being cared for. Do you know, I really feel for you, because that's absolutely, I'm trying to get rid of this. Okay, got rid of that. I think our childhood and trauma that we go through has a lot to answer for, because everything, I know that every single person that I work with who's suffering from anxiety and suffering from mental health stuff, it comes from some sort of trauma that they've been through. And trauma is different for all of us. I was saying yesterday, I had a conversation with someone who was very much dismissed by a health professional, and I don't ever want to criticise, because I only have one side of the story, but they told me that they were dismissed by a health professional and told that their trauma wasn't bad enough. My jaw just hit the floor, because I thought, who says that? Even just as a human being to human being, whether you're a health professional or not, you just wouldn't say that. Surely there's a kindness there, and who are we to judge? Because trauma is different for everyone. And so I'm sorry that you've had a difficult upbringing where you have not felt cared for, and you've not been cared for in the way that you need. We all need care. That's part of our makeup, part of our build, of our foundation as a person, isn't it? That we are shown how to be, how to care for ourselves. We're shown that we are loved and we're seen and heard. So I'm sorry about that. Yes, Lynn. Thank you. Lynn is my. Lynn was the first person who offered to moderate for me, and Lynn is just such an absolute stalwart. It helps so much, and she's absolutely right. She reminds me of the things that I don't see. She reminds me, and she's absolutely right. Thank you so much for the gifts that you send. I so appreciate it. Don't feel that you have to at all. I mean, it's really lovely of you. Yeah, but yes, thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you, Lynn. Right, let me go and get going with these gifts. Oh, that's really interesting. Celtic Queen, 1970. I have terrible health anxiety, and I totally understand. I got a dog, and this really helped me. What a brilliant idea! I think that's so good. I think that I hadn't thought of that before. I haven't thought of that before. But that's such a lovely thing, isn't it? That sense of caring. Do you know, it's almost, when I was saying about giving your focus elsewhere as much as you can, getting a dog, having a pet, being of service to other people is the thing that I mean. When you give your focus elsewhere, all of a sudden it's not so much focus on you and how you're feeling. It's about looking outwards and moving towards life rather than being in protection and pulling yourself in all the time. I hope that makes sense. But I love that you have got a dog and that you... Oh, Phoebe sent me an ice cream cone. Thank you. That's very appropriate for the day, isn't it? Oh my goodness. Do you believe 777? My son lost his best friend who drowned, and he almost drowned trying to save him. Help. Oh my goodness. How awful for you. How awful. I mean, I'm so relieved and grateful for you that your son is okay, and I don't know how recently this was. I'm so sorry about the loss of your son's friend. This is a big trauma, isn't it? A big trauma for your son, for your son's friends, family, for you as a mum, because we go through all that. Oh God, what if it had been my son? It's too close to home, isn't it? So look after each other, be kind to one another, and with things like that, our minds are amazing. How we come through it. Just because we go through trauma doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be adversely affected by it. Actually, there's something called post-traumatic growth that a lot of people experience. So actually, our nervous systems are incredible, and we can process and go through what's happened, come out the other side, and actually be absolutely fine. And that's a brilliant thing to happen. So I'm really crossing everything that will happen for your son and for you as well. It's probably best not to go plunging into therapy straight away. It's much more about being able for him to be able to talk it through with you as family first and process it, and for him to know that you're available to talk about it. If he doesn't want to talk about it, doesn't have to, but for you to know, for him to know that you're there. And then perhaps after maybe I don't know, everyone's different, but a period of time, probably months, if he's still struggling, then to maybe go and see someone and get some help, to go to a therapist who's trauma informed, who can help. So I hope that helps, and my heart goes out to you. What a very, very difficult experience, and look after yourself too, because that's difficult for you to experience as well. So let's have a look here. How to stop having panic attacks because you hurt someone but you apologised, he didn't care and left. Oh, okay. So I'm sorry you've had that experience. None of us are perfect, are we? We all make mistakes, and we learn from the mistakes we make. I've made mistakes, like doing these lives. I've said things, and remember, I don't know if you're here on this call, but I'll never forget you. I'm not going to say your name out loud because I don't want to draw attention to you, you've not asked for that attention. But there was a lady, and I talked about a particular thing, and unwittingly really hurt her. And it was awful. I was so grateful that she actually contacted me and said, this has made me feel like this. And we talked it through and we had a conversation. She was very, very gracious and accepted my apology. And, we're still here. I know she still comes to the lives, and we know that we're there, if that makes sense. So you don't have control over anyone else. It's about knowing that, okay, you've made a mistake. All you can do is apologise and learn from it and not make the same mistake in the future. If that person, for whatever reason, doesn't accept your apology, there's nothing you can do about that, unfortunately. And that is their issue, their trauma, perhaps their journey in life has led them to a place where it's hard for them to accept that people make mistakes. I don't know. But I would just say, don't beat yourself up about that. That's not your fault. If you've made a mistake and you've apologised for it and you've done your best to make the other person feel okay, if they decide to reject you, that's their issue. That's their thing. That says that's more than just about you. That's about their whole journey through life. And I think probably when it comes to that, it's time to part ways. Because that's sometimes life happens like that. So please be kind to yourself. It's okay. It's not your fault. Right. Gosh, loads of messages. So user 418, that's the beginning number, says, what if you can't pinpoint a trauma? So that's such a good question. And as a cognitive hypnotherapist, this happens quite a lot, that people will come and see us and they won't be able to pinpoint a trauma, or they won't be able to even pinpoint what's wrong. They'll just come along and go, I feel a bit silly. I don't really know what's wrong, but I know I'm just not quite right. I feel a bit stuck. I feel like I'm just not right, and they can't put it into words. And actually what we do is, it's okay to not know, and sometimes we'll never know, because what if it happened when you were a tiny baby and you can't consciously remember? What if it happened in that time up to you when you were 3? What if, it can be lots of things. And as I say, trauma doesn't have to be a big T trauma. Trauma is anything that disrupts. You're living your life, you think that everything's fine, everything's going along nicely, and all of a sudden something happens that makes you lose trust in maybe who you are, the way you've dealt with things, maybe the people around you, maybe your environment. And so you don't have to know. What we do is we follow the feeling back. So we say, what happened? How are you feeling? How do you know that things are not right? And people will say, I feel it here. I feel it's in my throat, or it's in my gut, and we say, and we work, there's various techniques to be able to go back and follow that feeling to the first time. And often people are really surprised at what they go back to. Or, sometimes it can just be a sense of, I can't even picture it, I can't pinpoint it, but I know that it was around when I was quite young, and it's okay. And we can reframe it without you needing to know the exact facts. You don't even need to talk about it. It's like, a lot of the techniques that we use in the therapy that I do, we don't need to go into the nitty-gritty. It can stay private to you. You don't have to talk about it. It's much more about being with the feeling and reframing that. So I hope that's helpful. Okay, I'm just going to... There you go. Block someone. I don't usually do that. Usually I don't even see the horrible comments. I always see the good comments, because that's what most people are. But this is a safe space, and I don't have time for anyone who's going to be mean. And everyone here, we all have anxiety. Not everyone here has anxiety, but we all have stuff that goes on. And sometimes we have good days, we have difficult days, and it's not about you. It's a protective behaviour. And we can change behaviour. So that's a really good thing to know. So Jessica said, Jessica Amber, I keep re-experiencing my traumas, feeling it in my body. No matter what I tell myself, I still feel it. Okay, so I totally, I feel for you. And I think that it's completely natural. There's a fantastic book by someone called Bessel van der Kolk called The Body Keeps the Score. I wonder if it's here. Yeah, let me show it to you. Oh, so this is the book, The Body Keeps the Score, and it's one of the absolute key books on trauma. And he talks about how our bodies hold the memory of trauma within them, so our muscles remember. And a lot of the stuff that we do as cognitive hypnotherapists and, somatic therapists do, not just my modality of therapy, is that we actually work with the feelings, because when it's in your body, which it is for all of us, and some of us more than others, you can think as much as you like, but you can't think your way out of anxiety, because what happens is it's the physicality and the memory in your muscles, the memory in your body, that is the thing that needs to be approached and dealt with. So this is a great book, but also look for a somatic therapist, look for a trauma-informed therapist, maybe someone who does EMDR, maybe someone who does AMDR, and don't despair, because you absolutely can get help. So that because the trauma that you've experienced, whatever it is, it's deep down, it's in the deep structure of your body, and you absolutely can be freed of it by a therapist who's trained in that way. So please don't despair. There is help out there for you. So I just want to thank everybody who's here. Thank you so much for being here, and I do realise that I don't get to all the comments. If you ever have a question or a worry, you can always message me, either comment or send me an email, and I will get back to you. So oh God, I'm always going on. My brain's gone a bit too lally. Oh dear. Yeah, so thank you for being here, and thank you for my moderators that are here. Lynn 250. I've not seen if the others are here, because the comments fly by so quickly. But I know that you're here, Lynn. So thank you so much for the help that you do to keep this a safe space. Let's have a look. Let's answer some more questions. I'll stop gagging on. Let's have a look. So AAB7. So can hypnotising get rid of my OCD? So OCD, I'm sorry that you suffer from OCD. I work with and have worked with people who suffer from OCD, and cognitive hypnotherapy can be really helpful. But I would say that probably the best way to help with OCD is, I found that the CBT approach, I've trained in various aspects of CBT, and it's a tricky one. I would have a look at OCD UK, the charity, because they have got incredible information on there, and it's well worth actually finding a therapist who is truly experienced in working with OCD. I've worked with OCD, and I've helped people, but I've never been fully satisfied with the amount of help that I've given. And sometimes OCD is a bit like water, that you will get rid of it in an area and then it can come back in another area, and it's a sneaky old thing. It's a protective behaviour, and you definitely, if you work on the anxiety that you feel, it can make the OCD much less intense. But I would definitely say have a look at OCD UK and find a therapist who can help you, who's really experienced in working with OCD. So I hope that helps a bit, but don't despair, because you can definitely make really good inroads with it. It's a difficult thing to experience, and I feel for you. So live and laugh, XD. Your comment is, they say I'm psychosis, what can I do? And there's under that, Drew Morris, do you work with any patients with bipolar? So I would say bipolar disorder is a form of psychosis. Psychosis can be lots of different things. I would say that what you need is to go back to your GP and ask to be referred. You need to see someone like a psychologist, someone who's trained to a deeper level than I am. I don't work with that level. It's beyond the training that I have. So I'm sorry I can't help you more than that, but that's the route to head down. Let's have a look. Okay. So, Ox Leah, any advice on how to stay calm with social anxiety during a job interview? I'm very nervous about it. Well, I totally understand that. To a certain extent, it's completely normal to feel nervous about going into a job interview because, it's the unknown and it means a lot. It matters, doesn't it? You want to get the job. So don't be hard on yourself. What I would say is practically prepare as much as you can. So learn about the company that you're going to be going to interview with, and understand that there's actually the fact that you've got an interview is a really good sign, because they obviously like you. They obviously see that you've got the right qualifications, you're the right sort of person. And going for interview is, they want to see you, who you're like. And so they want you to be you. They want you. They want to see if you're going to fit in with their team. So really, in a way, you're interviewing them. You want to go and see, are they the sort of people that I want to work with? And so it's a really good thing that you're going. They will expect you to be nervous, so that's okay. They don't expect you to be perfect. They expect you to fumble over your words a bit. So find out about the company as much as you can. So if they say to you, what do you know about blah, 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 you can go, well, actually. But also smile. Have some questions prepared, so that if they say, do you have a question that you'd like to ask us? You don't go, oh God, no. So have some questions. God, my son surprised me. He used to have great questions for interviews. He'd say things like, how do you see the development of the company over the next 5 to 10 years? I don't know. I'm not sure he really cared, but it sounded quite good, an interview. It's weird, isn't it? Because the question we want to ask is like, how much money am I going to get? How many holidays do I get? Do I get any perks? At the end of the day, we just want a job, don't we? That we just get a job so that we can earn money to pay our bills, and that we're with nice people and that we enjoy our job. But you have to play the game a bit. So techniques to help you with your nerves. So there's lots of techniques. EFT, the tapping that is in my techniques, can be really helpful. Don't just do it just before, just as you're coming up to, over the few days, or just generally in life, use these techniques. Breath techniques can be really helpful. This technique that is pinned can be really helpful because you can be doing that in the interview. So you can be sitting there and you can have your hand just down by your side or in your lap, and that can be a really solid anchor for you. So, and slow everything down. When we're nervous, we tend to gabble and be like, everything is speeded up and then we can't think straight. So if you just slow everything down, then that could be really helpful. And give yourself time to think. If they ask you a question, you can say things like, oh, that's a very interesting question. Yes, and then that 2 seconds gives you a chance to just consider and respond rather than react. So I hope that's a bit helpful, and good luck. Let us know how you get on with your interview. Let's have a look. Yeah, take a breath, slow down. It's not so much about taking a breath, it's about the out breath. If you look at my techniques, especially like the triangle one is really good because it's like this. You could do it down in your lap so that no one can see you're doing it, because that's, you don't want, like tapping is great, but you don't want to be in an interview going like this, do you, doing tapping? Although you can do that just with this point here. So, so the out breath is important. And with the triangle breath technique, which I show on my page, it's you draw a triangle. So it's across, down to a point, back up. This is your in breath, and then out, out, in, out, out. And you might have pauses between the in and out breaths. Be curious about that. But what's the important thing is that your out breath is twice as long as your in breath. So that slows everything down. It slows your heart rate down, and it sends the message to your nervous system that all is well, you are safe. So yeah, breath technique is, don't be like, I've got to take a deep breath, I've got to take a deep breath, because that is actually quite triggering. So let's have a look. Have to look some more. Oh, that's a very good question. Sophie44. Hi, do you have any tips for protecting my mental health and / anxiety when having a depressed partner? So that's such a good question, because, I know that a lot of people that come on my page and come to these lives are dealing with a family member who is going through different issues, whether that's anxiety, depression, or something else. And it's really difficult for you. It's awful to see someone that you love really struggling, and it's difficult to know how to care for them. And I always say, thank you for the care that you give, thank you for being there, and for you to know that you absolutely are appreciated so much. I know when I had postnatal depression and my husband was there for me and cared for me, he just was a lifesaver. He was wonderful, and I will never forget that. Never. So I would say the first thing is to talk with them and ask them, how can I help you? How can you let me know what you need at particular times? Because it'll be different. Sometimes someone just needs you to hold them. Sometimes someone needs you to go and make a cup of tea and do the practical stuff of bringing stuff for them, make sure that they eat, make sure that they're washing, that kind of thing, but in a gentle way. And sometimes they might ask you to look for stuff, to find advice or helpful tips, but I think the driver of it needs to be them, so that they feel comfortable. And kindness is just so important, to be kind to them, to give them space when they need space. But I think it's also very important that you look after you, that you have time away from them, because it can be very exhausting. It's exhausting when you're depressed, but it's also can be exhausting to be around someone who's depressed. And I don't mean that in a nasty way. I think it just is. There's an energy about someone, and I know for myself, I was, when I had postnatal depression, I know I was really difficult to be around. I was really angry a lot of the time. I didn't care very much about anything. And so that's hard to be around long term. So self-care for you is very important. And taking yourself, having time away, maybe going for a walk, or whatever it is that makes you feel good. So it's that teamwork, isn't it? It's tag team. I hope that helps a little bit, but I hope that your partner is okay and comes through this in the best way that they can. So Gur56 says, whenever I get anxious, I start sweating, and it's embarrassing. And how do I stop that? So, anxiety is such a pain, isn't it? All these things that it gives to us, and our nervous system is trying to help us. And I think I suppose, but yeah, I think all of the creating an environment of safety. So if you're up here, if your stress hormones are up here and you're really anxious and you're really, it's horrible, then your heart is racing and your breath has changed and your muscles are tense and you are going to sweat. That, you know, that can be part of it. So if you lower your stress hormones and you're in a place where, you know, you're generally calmer and your nervous system feels safe, then that will change how your body is working, the physicality of your body. So it's a long-term thing, you know. I do all of these things every day. I don't just, you know, come along and spout, do this, do that. I live this. You know, I use these techniques myself. I use self-care. I do all the things that I advise my clients to do. And that's why I feel that I am so much calmer, so much happier than I ever was before I trained to do this. So I hope that helps a bit. And don't worry, probably a lot of the time it's much more visible, or you feel much more aware of it than other people do. We often tend to think, don't we, that everyone's really aware of we're blushing or we're sweating or we're panicking, and actually most people are so worried about themselves they don't notice what we're going through, which in some ways can be really awful and in some ways can be a blessing. So yeah, so Tally Princess has gone through that as well. But you know, kindness is so important, isn't it? It's why it's so important we're kind to each other. You know, if you see someone and they're sweating and they're obviously anxious, you know, be kind to them. It's not about saying, oh God, I'm really sorry you're sweating. It's more about just saying, oh, how are you doing? Are you all right? Can I get you a glass of water? Oh, you did so well. You know, Tally, your presentation at uni, that was amazing. You must have worked really hard to do that. And then in that moment you go, oh, thank you. So I hope that helps a bit. So we've got about 10 minutes left, and I'll try and get through as many questions as I can. And I'm really aware, and I'm so sorry. I know that questions just come flying through when there's hundreds of people watching and there's hundreds of comments coming through. It's hard to keep up with them all, and I do my best, but I don't want to rush through. I don't want to do quick answers that don't actually answer anything. If you've got questions, then, you know, please feel free to email me. And if you don't have time to watch this whole thing, you know, maybe your question has been answered in another part of this, then I always upload these to YouTube. My YouTube channel is linked to, so you feel free to go and have a look in your own time, and then you can pause, watch a bit, pause, and so on. And I think, that's that. Yeah. I don't know what's wrong with me today. I feel like I'm not thinking quite straight, so apologies for that. So Sam, how can I stop my stuttering when I'm anxious? So stuttering does happen. When we're anxious, it affects our speech and language centre in our brain. Because what happens is that we go into fight or flight, and we the flow of our blood changes, so the flow is different. So where it would have been going more fully to our speech and language centre, it's not going there so much. It's being sent to other places like our big muscles, so we can run away or we can fight. And because it's not going there, it's very easy to not be able to find our words. It's also not going to our working memory, so it's very natural that might happen. And breath techniques can help with this. Working generally each day, perhaps tapping each day. If you look at the tapping videos that I share, and also there's a free app called The Tapping Solution you can look at with Nick Ortner, that does guided tapping for all sorts of things. That has been shown to lower the level of cortisol by 25% if we tap regularly. So you don't have to be tapping for ages. You can you can just tap on one part of your hand here, and it will make a big difference to you. So over time, this can be really helpful, and the breath work can be really helpful to slow down, take your time, leave gaps, and be kind to yourself. People will understand people understand when you're anxious, and if you stutter, if you have a stammer, it's okay. You know, it's all right. People just want to be able to help you. So I hope that helps. So I can see, Lynn, that you're having a conversation with Chaima 4283, and I've not seen any of it. I've not been, but Lynn's giving you good advice about talking to a doctor, talking to a family member or friend. I'm not sure what's going on here, but it's very important that you don't suffer alone. Do reach out. If it's a particular thing, then there may well be a charity that has a support line that you could speak to someone. And the people on the support lines, whether it's Samaritans or Papyrus, whether there's Mind, all sorts of different charities have support numbers that you can call. Those people are trained, and they're really normal, lovely people who will have experienced what you've been experiencing, and they'll do their best to help you. I'm sure that lots of you will be suffering alone, and whatever you're going through, it's always better to be able to share and to get support from someone else, because two heads are better than one. And often where we see that there is no solution, someone else will be able to say, okay, let's have a look at this and let's just go through this stage by stage and chunk it down. And they perhaps will be able to see solutions where you couldn't. So do please reach out. And I'm really glad that you're in this live, and perhaps this will give you some ideas, and perhaps there will be someone that you can begin to begin that dialogue with. So you take care of yourself. And thank you, Lynn, for having that conversation. I appreciate you reaching out there. Let's have a look. So I can see here, when I have a panic attack, I try to do those breath exercises, but I can't breathe and my heart hurts. Okay, so when you're actually in a panic attack, it's quite difficult. It's difficult to think. It's difficult to follow, breath exercises, all of these exercises. So that's why all of the exercises that I share, all of the techniques, this is not a sort of a crisis technique as such. A lot of the time it's about having practiced it every day when you're fine, so that it's almost like muscle memory, so that if you do get triggered into a panic attack, you don't have to think about, oh, what do I have to do? How do I do it? It's much more that you just go into it naturally, okay? So it's about simplifying as much as you possibly can. And also, if you're experiencing panic attacks, and perhaps you're experiencing it either in a workplace or in a place where the same people are around you, then to let those people know what would be helpful for you. Sometimes just having someone there with you, just to hold your hand and to reassure you that this will be a temporary thing, that this will be over, can be very helpful. So to have someone there, perhaps to hold your hand, even if just you don't want them to touch you, but for them to be there and be reassuring and say, I'm here with you, it's okay, this will pass, breathe with me. And there's a thing that they do on mental health first aid courses, which is called it's crazy, it's called a one-winged seagull. So if you're with someone who's having a panic attack, to do that, to say, it's okay, I'm with you, this will pass, let's just slow down, let's take our time and just breathe with me. So we're going to breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. And just their nervous system will reach out to you, or your nervous system will reach out to them, and it will gradually sync, as in synchronize, and it will gradually lead you to a place where things are slower and calmer, and it's okay. So I hope that makes sense. And if anyone on here suffers from panic attacks, that's something to think about. It's that doing the exercises each day so that your levels of stress are much lower in the first place, so you don't go up here, you're much more like this. But talking to the people around you, letting them know how they can help you, if you trust them enough to do that. And yeah, so I hope that's helpful. So Yeah, Unknown Planet. Yeah. So Lynn's quite right. So have a look at my YouTube, because a lot of the questions I answer them, and perhaps you've not seen. So user 446, do you have any advice for coming off alcohol? So I think I don't personally work with people who have issues with alcohol or drugs, any form of addiction really. So I'm probably not the best person to help you, but there's a couple of really great therapists that I know. There's someone called Hugh Osborne. He does lots of online work helping people with addiction, so he's amazing. There's also Dennis as in Deniz, Dennis Mehmet. He's under the label of the addiction therapist. So perhaps they might be able to help you. And also, there'll be lots of charities and lots of help out there. I would also, if you feel comfortable, go and see your GP, and perhaps they will help you. There's also, obviously, there's things like AA can be helpful. So I'm sorry I can't help more. It's not an area that I'm experienced in. Oh gosh, it's 11 o'clock. I can't believe that's gone flying by. So let's have a look. Perhaps do one more. Let's have a look. So there's a few questions here around being sick and emetophobia. So I actually did a video yesterday around emetophobia. I think it was yesterday, maybe it's the day before yesterday. So if you have a look on my grid, there will be stuff on there, but it's very natural. There's two sides to this. So there's the feeling sick when you're anxious, and there's emetophobia. So emetophobia is the fear of vomit, either yourself being sick or someone else around you. So obviously it's really difficult if you're anxious and one of the symptoms that you're experiencing is feeling nauseous. And the reason that we feel nauseous when we're anxious is because of the release of the adrenaline and cortisol, and because our digestive system changes when we're in fight or flight. So you might experience a dry mouth, you might experience that you don't want to eat, you might experience that you feel sick, and that's all to do with anxiety, because what happens is our nervous system is just shutting us down, shutting everything down other than what we need to survive. So it's so that's what's happening. Doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be sick, but it can feel that way. So all of the techniques that I could talk about can help with the sensation of feeling sick. If you have emetophobia, a fear of sick or vomit, then obviously that sort of feels even worse if you have that fear. And it often can have been triggered either by an experience that you've had yourself or witnessing someone else being sick. Quite often people who have emetophobia have never been sick, or the last time they were sick was a really long time ago, and it's that fear of being out of control, fear of what it might be, what it might feel like, and so that's really difficult to cope with. Often someone commented on my video that I did about emetophobia the other day, that they had actually had emetophobia for years, and then they got a stomach bug. I'm sorry if I don't mean to be triggering for you. If this is difficult, then I apologise. But they had actually been sick, and it was such a relief, because all of their fears they realised were not true, and actually it was okay, and they were okay, and they just began to feel very differently after that. So I know that that's probably not what you want to hear, but it definitely can be helped. Cognitive hypnotherapy is very helpful with this, because what we can do is we can go back and look at the first event connected to what it was that made you feel this way and have this fear, and we can reframe it, you know. So it's definitely worth looking into getting some sort of help with it. But you know, take care. It's more prevalent than you might think, and a lot of the time it can be about the control, feeling out of control, and so we can work on that as well. So I hope that helps a little bit. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. This has really been an hour, and it's been lovely having you all here. I really appreciate you coming to my lives. I do them every Friday at 10 a.m. and every Monday at 5 p.m. And I do my best to answer all the questions. I'm so grateful for my moderators. Lynn, I know that you've been here, Lynn 250, and also to Jasmine Lake, to Vicky Hodgson, to Vicky Handlebars, to Zanshin. They all help to keep this a safe space as much as possible. I really appreciate the fact that you give up your time to help me, and I appreciate that if you've been watching this live, I appreciate the fact that you've come along and given up your time. If you've not had time to watch the whole thing, then I upload all of them to my YouTube channel, so they're all there, so you can sit and watch with a cup of tea in your own time. If your question has not been answered, then I apologise for that. I'm not ignoring anyone at all. I just haven't got time to answer every single question, and I don't see them all. So if you want to email me, then you're very welcome to, and I'll do my best for you. My next one will be next Monday. So 10 a.m. Is it 10? 5 p.m. So I'm looking at my diary here. So 5 o'clock this coming Monday will be the next one. So it would be lovely to see you there. I so appreciate you being here. When I came on TikTok, I just never expected this. I never really thought anyone would be interested in what I do. And I worry now. Before I came on today, I was thinking, I wonder if anyone will be there, because I don't know if anyone is interested in what I have to say, because you know, a lot of the time I go over the similar stuff. So I so appreciate you being here, more than you will know. I had a couple of comments yesterday that really affected me. They were a bit mean, and I just block and delete. I'm not going to get involved in that. So I want you to know, all of the people who come on here who are kind and who are supportive of one another, and who get involved in conversations with one another and see each other, and who comment on my page. I appreciate you so much, and I appreciate the kindness that there is present in this community, because that really makes such a difference. It really does. So I'm going to stop now. But thank you so much for being here. If there's anything you want me to post about, I have a list. I have a piece of paper where I jot things down, and I do get to them eventually. It might take time. If you have your sort of name, your TikTok handle, then I'll tag you in it if I can. I will. I will. Well, not if I can, I will. So thank you so much for everything. And I will have a lovely weekend. I hope you have a lovely rest of your Friday, and be kind to yourselves. You are good people, and have a lovely weekend, and I'll see you on Monday. I'm just going to hang around a bit just to have a look at the comments, and but you take care of yourself, speak kindly to yourself, be kind, and I'll see you on Monday. Oh, thank you, Homely Palace Mum. Lovely to see you. I'm glad you made it. It's really nice to see you. Thank you, 16R. Thank you for following me, everyone. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Alexandra98. Yeah, thank you, Lynn. It's just ending now. I'm just scrolling through because I just love seeing messages. Thank you, Savannah Jade UK. Thank you. And Ben Mac. Thank you. I appreciate that. Snorts to Caroline. I love that name. Thank you. That's lovely. Let's have a look. Oh, Alicia Naseby, you made it. It's so nice to see you. Thank you for coming. Oh, Savannah Jade, you sent me strawberries and cream. Do you know, I've got some strawberries in the fridge. Thank you ever so much. I really appreciate that. It's lovely. Oh, Oe, what's happening in this live? Oh, I'm sorry you missed it. Have a look on my YouTube though. You can have a look, have a watch of it. My YouTube channel is linked to in my bio. There's a Linktree link. You can have a little look. And Angel Crooksy, yeah, and 16R. Thank you for saying thank you to my moderators. Yeah, they're great, aren't they? I couldn't do it without them, but I really couldn't. It's just so lovely. Thank you, 16R. Really lovely comments. And thank you, Lynn. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go. I'm going to make myself a cup of tea. And I've got work to do. I've got admin to do. Not seeing clients today, but I've got admin to do. So I need to do that bit, which I should get on with. But have a lovely weekend. And I will see you Monday if you fancy it. Take care. Bye.